Hello everyone. So, as all of you know, nowadays we are all are going through the worldwide pandemic situation of COVID-19. And recently we have found the patient of an Omicron virus. But throughout this pandemic situation, we heard many times the word vaccine, injections, injectable products or parenteral products. Yes, parenteral products. But have you ever think that how the word parenteral product come? What are the parental products? And what are the routes for parental product administration? If no, so don't worry because I am a student of Shivaji Rao S. Zondade College of Pharmacy studying third year of B Pharmacy going to conduct the topic parental product. I am going to share the little bit of my knowledge about of parental product with you under the guidance of our professor Gita Mohire ma'am. Not only this but also at the end of this, I will share some interesting things or facts about parental products with you. So, let's start with easy as well as an interesting topic. Parenteral products. Parenteral products are sterile preparations which are administered by injecting directly into the body tissue through the skin and mucous membranes. The term parenteral has been derived from the Greek word paraenteron, which means outside the intestines. Parenteral drugs are the sterile preparations containing one or more active ingredients intended for administration by injections, infusion, or implantation into the body. They are packaged in either single dose or multi dose containers. These are products that we injecting directly into our bloodstream. That means outside the intestine, like our arm or hand, but has been injecting it into a bloodstream. They should not be contaminated by any environmental factors or they should not be altered by any chemical reactions. These are the main motto of parental products, that they should be sterile. Then what are the types of an parental products? As you can see, parental products are divided into based on volume, based on states of product, and what are the routes of administrating it. So, first, based on volume, they are subdivided into SVP and LVP. SVP stands for small volume parenteral, while LVP stands for large volume parenterals. SVP an injection that is packed in a container labeled as containing 100 ml or less, while LVP are parenteral designed to provide fluid, calories, and electrolytes to the body, and the volume is more than 100 ml. So, simply we can say that SVP are injection containing 100 ml or less, while LVP are a parenteral injection containing more than 100 ml. Second, based on the states of a product, they are subdivided into a 7 parts, that is injection, infusion, powder for injection, concentrated solution for injection, implants, injectable emulsions, and oily injection. First, injections contain sterile solutions and are prepared by dissolving the active ingredients and other substances in water for injection or other suitable non-aqueous base or a mixture of both. The solution to be injected may show sediments which can be dispersed easily by shaking the container. The suspension should remain stable in order to deliver a homogeneous dose whenever withdrawal is made from the container. Second one is infusion. These parenteral preparation are composed of a sterile aqueous solution with water as its continuous phase. The preparation are free from bacterial endotoxins or pyrogens and are made isotonic with the blood. They do not contain any antimicrobial preservatives. Third one is powder for injection. These are a sterile solid compounds that are distributed in their final volume when the vials or containers is shaken to form a clear particle free solution. Concentrated solution for injection. The concentrated solution are diluted with water for injection before they are administered through injection or through intravenous infusion. Implants. These solid sterile preparations are implanted in the tissue in order to release the active ingredients for long periods. They are stored in sterile containers individually. Injectable emulsion. These are liquid preparations in which the drug substances are dissolved or dispersed in a suitable emulsion medium. These provide essential fatty acids and vitamins. Oily injection. These are used to prepare parenteral control release dosage forms. Third one is routes of administration. On the basis of routes of administration, they are divided into intravenous injections, intramuscular injection, subcutaneous injection, intradermal injection, intra-articular injection, intrasynovial injection, intraosseous, intracerebral, intraspinal, intraethical, intraarterial, intracardiac, and endotracheal. Let's see one by one. Intravenous injection. These drugs goes directly into the bloodstream, administered at a 15 to 20-degree angle. An intravenous injection is an injection of a medication or another substances into a vein and directly into the bloodstream. It is one of the fastest way to get a drug into the body. But IV injection are one of the quickest and most controlled way delivered when a person needs a potentially life-saving medication very quickly, when a person needs a very accurate dose of a medication, when a person needs a large dose of a medication over an extended period of time. Taking a medication by mouth would be impractical or ineffective when a person would otherwise require multiple injections, such as when receiving treatment for some chronic condition, or when a person cannot eat or drink and requires fluid through an IV line. An intramuscular injection is a technique used to deliver a medication deep into the muscle. This allows the medication to be absorbed into the bloodstream quickly. You may have received an intramuscular injection at a doctor's office the last time you got a vaccine, like the flu shot. It is administered at a 90-degree angle, volume limited to less than 3 ml. It is given into the outer portion of the gluteus maximus. Intramuscular injections are a common practice in modern medicines. They are used to deliver drug and vaccine. Several drugs are almost all injectable vaccines are delivered this way. Intramuscular injections are absorbed faster than subcutaneous injection because muscle tissue has a greater blood supply than the tissue just under the skin. Muscle tissue can also hold a large volume of a medication than subcutaneous tissue. Subcutaneous tissue or subcutaneous injection given at an 45-degree angle, no more than 1 ml should be injected into the side. Administration medication below the skin into the subcutaneous fat. In this type of an injection, a short needle is used to inject a drug into the tissue layer between the skin and the muscle. Medication given this way is usually absorbed more slowly than if injected into a vein, sometimes over a period of 24 hours. A subcutaneous injection is a method of administering medication. Subcutaneous means under the skin. So when other methods of administration might be less effective, this type of injection can be used. For example, some medication can't be given by mouth because acids and enzymes in the stomach will destroy them. Other methods like intravenous injection can be difficult and costly. For small amount of delicate drugs, a subcutaneous injection can be useful, safe, and convenient method of getting a medication into your body. Intradermal injections are administered into the dermis, which is located between the epidermis and the hypodermis. This route is relatively rare compared to the injections into the subcutaneous tissue or muscle. Due to the more complex use, intradermal injections are not preferred route of administration for injection and therefore used for certain therapies only, such as tuberculosis tests and allergy tests. Intra-articular injection. These are the injections type of shot that place directly into a joint to relieve pain. The term intra-articular injections refers to an injection given directly into the joint capsule. These injections are used for lubricating the joints. We can see the example for this is knee joint. Mostly Intra-articular injection are used for a knee joint or many other joints present in our body. Intrasynovial injections, these are the same type of an intra-articular injection. Intra-articular injection of a steroid is a valuable method of treatment, but the selection of an appropriate clinical setting is required to obtain maximal benefits and to minimize the complications. All intra-articular injection must be performed under strict aseptic techniques. The rheumatoid patients with one or two joints that resist systemic therapy and the patient with an occasional osteoarthritic joint with an acute inflammation are amenable to treat this treatment. The patient who has acute attacks of tendinitis, bursitis will obtain significant benefit. Selected patients with the traumatic and acute arthritic also may benefit. Repetitive injection appear to be contraindicated as they may create an environment conducive to joint destruction. Intraosseous infusion. It is the process of injecting medication, fluids, or blood products directly into the marrow of a bone. This provides a non collapsible entry point into the systemic venous system. The intraosseous infusion technique is used to provide fluids and medication when intravenous access is not available or not feasible. Intraosseous infusion allow for the administered medication and fluid to go directly into the vascular system. The IO route, that is intraosseous route of fluid and medication administration, is an alternative to the preferred intravascular route when the latter cannot be established in a timely manner in emergent situation. It is used when people have compromised intravenous access and need immediate delivery of life-saving fluids and medication. So basically, when there is intravenous injection is not applicable, at that time intraosseous injections are very helpful. Intracerebral injection, these are injection given into the cerebrum. These injections are widely used when there is a treatment of primary brain tumors and neurological disorders such as a Parkinson disease. In this method, the intermittent bolus injections are administered locally in the brain where the drugs are diffused with minimal systemic exposure and toxicity. The use of a brain implants is another strategy for a drug delivery in which a biodegradable material impregnated with drug is implanted into the brain. Second, intraspinal. Intraspinal, or you can say intrathecal, are the both types. Means it is a subtype of an intrathecal. In the intraspinal, we are injecting the injections into the epidural space which is present behind the spinal cord, while intrathecal injections are given into the subcanoid space surround the spinal cord. This route is used for a spinal anesthesia. The spinal anesthesia we use when there is a many surgeries are required for brain. Intrathecal injections are used when there is a need to help to control the pain after surgery. An anesthesiologist inject a single dose of an narcotic or opioid medicine around your spinal cord. One injection will last up to 24 hours after it is given. An intrathecal injection can reduce the amount of another medicine needed to control your pain. So basically, when there is a need to help to control your or relieve your pain, intrathecal injections are given at the epidural space present in your behind the spinal cord. Intra-arterial injection. These are injections given directly into the arteries. These injections are given in very rare emergencies, and this intra-arterial injection of vasodilators appears to be very beneficial. Next is intracardiac injections. These injections are given into the heart muscles or ventricles at the time of emergency only. So these injections are given into the heart muscle in very emergency conditions. Intracardiac injections of breast cancer cell has also been used to study effects of therapeutics on cancer-induced bone disease. Next is the endotracheal injections or endotracheal tubes. It is a tube like an injection to insert a flexible tube into the airway through the mouth or the nose. It is mostly used therapy during the cardiopulmonary resuscitation, that is CPR. Endotracheal drug therapy is installation of a drug solution directly into an endotracheal tube for absorption into the circulation via the alveoli. May be used during CPR when venous access is limited. Administration of a drug via central vein is the most efficient route, but a central intravenous line may not be present and peripheral venous administration may not be possible because of a vasoconstriction, trauma, other patient related factors, or absence of a personal train to insert IV catheters. An endotracheal tube is usually inserted during a CPR. In most cases, this procedure can be performed outside the hospital by emergency medical personnel. Basic life support measures are not disturbed in this, as they are administered by the endotracheal route include in intracardiac drug administration. Drugs that may be administered by the endotracheal route include epinephrine, atropine sulfate, lidocaine hydrochloride, naloxone hydrochloride, and metaraminal bitrate. Now, endotracheal drug administration may replace intracardiac injection as the second line alternative to intravenous drug injection during CPR. Usually, the same dose is administered endotracheally as by the intravenous route. Little is known about choice and volume of diluent and the base anatomic site of an application. So, these are the all routes of administration from where we can take the parenteral products. Now, let's take advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: parenteral products can bypass our pre-systematic or first pass metabolism, and hence the onset of an action is quick. These drugs, which cannot be administered orally, can be administered by this route. The patient who are vomiting or unconscious cannot take drug by oral route. In such cases, we can use the parenteral product. The drug action can be prolonged by modifying the formulation. This route can deliver transfusion fluids containing nutritives like glucose and electrolyte such as the sodium chloride. As there is a advantages, so let's take a look of a disadvantages. Injection cause pain at the site of injection. At the site of injection, the trained person are required to administer the drug. The administration of drug through wrong route of injection may prove fatal. It is difficult to save a patient when overdose is given. There are chances of sensitivity reaction or allergic reaction of a drug by an individual. These reactions are sometimes caused to the death. The trained person required for this because no one can easily give this drug to the patient. Though proper technique and proper medication is required to give the parenteral products. Now take a small look of a great hero, a great scientist who give us the knowledge of an parenteral product. He is the first pictures of an Stanley Tucci, which is a father who is a father of an intravenous. There is an interesting story of an Stanley Tucci. As a 7-year-old, Stanley was so impressed with the compassionate care that his mother received when she had a life-threatening fever that he decided right then and there to become a doctor. But as a young resident in the early 1960s, he began to have a misgiving about the becoming a surgeon. When three patients who had undergone operation that were technically successful nonetheless died in the hospital. Rather than change specialties or even abandon his chosen career, however, Dr. Dudek decided to devote himself to discovering what caused their death. The cause of three deaths that had so motivated him, he concluded, was severe malnutrition. The patient had been unable to eat or to absorb enough nutrient to sustain life. By the late 1916s, experimenting first on beagle puppies, Dr. Dudek developed a treatment called total parenteral nutrition or TPN, which bypasses the intestinal tract when a patient cannot receive food or fluids by mouth and instead inject nutrients like a liquid carbohydrate, electrolytes, fats, minerals, proteins, and vitamins directly into the circulatory system through a vein. The second picture is of an Alexander Wood, the great physicist who gave the first true hypodermic syringe. He invented the first true hypodermic syringe in the 1858 to 1861. And the third picture is of an Christopher Wren, the great mathematician and physicist who used sharpened hollow quill of a feather to inject crude extract of opium into the vein of a dog. Then J.D. Major and Johansen Elsholtz were first who successfully injected humans in 1662 using solution of an opium. Did you know that in 1492 Pope Innocent had received a transfusion from a young boy? Is it that great? So I hope you find it helpful and enjoy this video. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe, be happy.